morning, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this discussion this morning. For those of you who don't know us, Europeana is Europe's digital platform for cultural heritage. So it's exciting for me to be here this morning to talk about culture and digital together in the year of cultural heritage. Now, Jean Monnet said that if he could start again, he would start with culture. And at Europeana, that's our starting point. That's what we do. Our mission statement is that we want to transform the world with culture. Now, that might sound like an incredibly ambitious goal, but we really do believe that high quality, open access, cultural material is an incredible resource for the digital age that can contribute to a better future for all of us. So I was very interested to hear what Beatrice had to say to us this morning about innovation. And what we do at Europeana is we work with cultural heritage institutions to create that high quality open access material. And then we encourage its strategic use in education, in research, and the creative industries. And where we can, we work to foster the role of cultural heritage in supporting the policies of the European institutions. So promoting cultural diversity and inclusivity, promoting learning and innovation. So how do we facilitate that? What can we ask of EU policies to do to support it? Now, this morning, Julie asked me to share with you some information about one of our latest projects, which is Europeana migration. And I'm really glad to do so. One, because I'm very excited about the project. And two, because I think it's a really nice example of where culture meets digital, touches on policy, and also this morning because it really resonates with what so many people have said. Julie spoke about accessibility and inclusivity, and Ton spoke about common values and about culture being about people and where we're from. And that really is like our starting point for this project. So Europeana Migration is one, as an organisation, it's one of our key contributions to the European Year of Cultural Heritage. And when Commissioner Navracsics launched the year, he said that cultural heritage is part of the fabric of our lives. And our starting point for this project was that many of us are not consciously aware that we're the product of many cultural influences. And if there's one thing that our cultural heritage does show us, is that Europe today, as we know it, is the result of a flow of people and of ideas, and that migration is actually woven through our everyday lives. It's in the food that we eat, it's in the way that we dress, it's in the stories that we tell, and it has, down through the centuries, really enriched us. So we want to help create awareness that personal identity is made up of multiple cultural influences, and that leads back to the points that were being made about inclusivity and understanding. So to that end, we're building an online collection of digitised cultural heritage around the theme of migration. Now, we're not building it on our own. We're building it with migration museums and with other cultural institutions who have content around the theme of migration. But we're also working with the public. This is an approach we tried in our Europeana 1914-18 project, where we have content from the public alongside content from institutions. So we are inviting the public to share with us their personal and family stories about migration and the objects that tell those stories for them, and to share them with us online. So they have the opportunity to do that online, and they have the opportunity to do also in some public events we're holding with migration museums around Europe. And that does three different things. One, it engages new audiences with cultures in a subject that's close to their heart, because everybody has a story. Every family has a story. And when you start to realise that other people's stories are like your stories, and that your personal story contributes to something bigger, it engages you with culture in a different way. On the institutional side, it provides a focus for museums and other cultural institutions to share and to improve the quality of the digital content that they have around migration. And finally, really importantly for us, it then provides us with like a wealth of material around a theme that we can then make available for education, for research, and for innovation. Now, I've mentioned education a few times, and it's a real focus for Europeana. we've already published policy recommendations on using digitised cultural heritage material in education. And we wanted to build on those and take them a step further. So we're using the migration project as a case study for this. We have reached out to policymakers and educators associations and networks and asked them to work with us on what would be their recommendations for better using migration in education. Because migration is not an easy subject to talk about sometimes, never mind to teach. I mean, who defines what migration is? And we've got very recent examples of, as well as historical, so it's very emotional, and finding the right material that can lead you into that discussion can be difficult. So we asked educators to look at the topic of migration and to say, what is it that you need from cultural heritage institutions that can help you to teach this subject with more nuance and give you greater resources. And we're hoping that we can create a model there that can be used for almost any subject area for digitised material in education. Because if we can get something like migration right, then I think that we can have a way in across the board. So what did they come back to us with? Well, first of all, funding, always funding. But funding for what? So funding for teacher training and for professional development on access to digital cultural heritage. Funding for institutions to digitise and also for rights clearance of material, because we've heard a lot this morning about accessibility. And if you can't access the material, then we don't get past the starting point. And also an understanding of the importance of openness in material. I was very interested in what Christina had to say about people having the same opportunity at the same time as others in access. So if things are open, then we've got a starting point for that type of access. So creating an environment that supports cultural heritage institutions in opening up their collections. And then the last thing that came across was facilitating collaboration between sectors. So between the digital culture sector, between education sectors, between innovators. And again, Beatrice was talking about the innovation fair in November. So that's another example of the type of thing that needs to be done. So hopefully by the end of this year with this project, what we want to have done is to have started the base of quite an important collection on migration with high quality open access material, to have promoted and supported a conversation about how we get that material used in education, and also to have started a conversation hopefully with users of culture, so that those issues that others have brought up today about inclusivity, that idea that when you start to doubt maybe your preconceived ideas of things, that starts the beginning of change. So that's our hope for what our project can start to touch on this year. So thank you for your time.
I know that my colleague Lambert will close the event. If you don't mind, I just want to say two things, and because I have votes at 9, and we do have time for questions. First of all, I have been reminded by Europeana, by Eleanor, I have a migration story, and that all of us, if possible, should go on to that site and make sure that we put my family were Huguenot refugees and established the lace trade in the city of Nottingham, which is the foundation for the wealth of the city. And it's really important when you look at your own family history and see that actually, you know, you are also a migrant. We are all migrants. So I must do this, okay, must be in my diary, and I would think that all of us should have a look back. But also, Tom, I was the author of a report on intercultural dialogue, diversity and education for fundamental values. And for those of you who maybe want to put together these different aspects of the things that we're talking about, safety, security, inclusiveness, well-being, productivity, employment, all those things, pretty much for me, come under the values and the policy framework that we tried to create with that report. But we have to bring, the reason why we are here today is to talk about using the internet. How can we use the digital tools, which are constantly changing, evolving, many of which we don't even know yet because they haven't been invented. So how can we use these things to progress culture, and particularly cultural heritage? So that should be, I think, the focus of our discussion now over the next 10-15 minutes. But can I thank you all for being here today? And when I go off, it's because I'm going to vote, because that's a really important function for us as MEPs. Okay, thank you.